Hey, Shalom. All praise, glory, and honor be unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Peace and double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect. So, going into this lesson, I finally got around to watching this movie, The Book of Clarence. All right, I know I'm late because this movie came out quite a while ago, but nonetheless, spoiler alert, if you still haven't seen it and you want to see it, it was a solid film. In my opinion, it was a solid film. And it definitely, for us brothers in the faith, definitely had some spiritual aspects that I would like to discuss a bit and get into because, there was a lot to unpack in the movie. So there's a lot, so I'm not sure where to begin, but I guess I'll start off at the part where, throughout the movie, there was individuals that would do, that would be wicked or be doing things that others didn't agree with, and they would call them heathens. And it was all understood that in this movie, the betrayal, they did portray the Jews the proper way, the tribe of Judah, all right, because Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the tribes of Israel that were in the land during the time where the Messiah walked the earth, the one that they called Jesus, his name is Yahweh Shai. And the portrayal of those particular tribes, all right, the portrayal is the proper portrayal, all right, dark skin and woolly hair, and that was the appearance of the Lord as well. All right, so I got my sword right here, and I'll read this. All right, just to show and prove, because really we don't need a movie to prove this to us, but it only further confirms what we already know. Revelation 1:14. His head and his hairs, I'll read 13. And in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the path with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, all right, which is dark brown, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters, because he had that deep, booming voice, as we know. All right, and there's Jakes right nowadays that have the very deep voices, man. All right, so how Shai is the embodiment of masculinity, um, and most importantly, he's the embodiment of righteousness. So um, the point being that it says his head and his hairs were white like wool. All right, that was the only thing that they didn't get correct in the movie because they portrayed him with dark hair. Really, he should have had that white hair because, as we know, the Lord was stressed. I forget the actor. I don't remember the actor's name, but he's pretty well known. That portrayed. I think he was the one that actually played Hannibal. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, I mean you have to double check on that. But yeah, he I forget the guy's name, but he portrayed the Lord. All right, and that's essentially right along the lines of what the Lord looked like. All right, he was a so-called black man, and the portrayal in the movie is the correct portrayal. So one thing that I observed through the spirit about the movie was, anytime that a Jake that one of them wasn't doing the right thing, or they weren't pleased with something one of them was doing, or he was being wicked, they would call him a heathen, and that goes to show you that the Gentiles being spoken of in Paul's letters are really Israelites that have been cast away. And and remember, you're dealing with Israel post, the southern kingdom, Judah post Babylonian exile. All right. Once they came back from that Babylonian exile, once you get an ass whooping from your father, you know the consequences. So you on your best behavior. So when you go into the time of the Lord, and the time from the Babylonian captivity to the rebuilding of the temple, to the rebuilding of the walls in Jerusalem, there was a lot more sense of being strict to the laws and putting idolatry away from Israel because they didn't want to be taken down by Babylon again. All right, so you can see that in the movie because anybody that would do anything that they would deem wicked, they would call him a heathen. All right, hey, you a heathen, but he's clearly one of them, but they will call him a heathen. All right, so if that was the case, now imagine you got Jakes that weren't even amongst the nation, those that was keeping the laws, those of the circumcision that grew up in the law, statutes, and commandments, grew up in the culture of being an Israelite. Then you had those that were scattered into these different lands, and of course, it would make sense why they're being called Gentiles. And the scriptures mentions what the 12 tribes scattered abroad. And according to what the Lord said in Matthew 10:5 and 6, he said, "Go not but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel." So, he would, if the heathen, all right, if you're talking about the natural heathen, dealing with the Moabites or the Ammonites or the Edomites, if they were meant to be a part of this, then the Lord would have mentioned it. All right. But he said, "Go not but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel." So those lost sheep were being referred to as Gentiles because once you were outside, once you were ousted from, being a part of the nation, you were considered a heathen at that point. And it's not good enough for you to just be an Israelite. You have to be following the right way for you to be considered an Israelite back then. So if you were following these other gods or following these other cultures, for example, being a Greek, then yeah, you would be considered a heathen. And that's why it was so controversial once those heathen so-called were able to be brought back into the fold. All right, that's the major aspect of the miracle that the Lord was doing and using Apostle Paul to do it. All right, amongst other men, all right, that was also used for that purpose. All right, so that was one point about the movie, referring to each other as heathen. Another point about the movie was there was one point where they kind of play off of the false image, and they had the actor, I forget his name, is Benjamin something. He played Doctor Strange in the Marvel movies. Hey, Shalom, man. Visual masterpiece. I agree, brother. In the end, it definitely hits because we know that that's what we're striving. We're striving to be delivered, And spoiler alert, I already mentioned that. So, if you're just tuning in now, if you want to still watch it and you don't want it to be spoiled, I'm gonna spoil it now, but it is what it is. The movie's been out for a while, so yeah. At the end, he ends up repenting essentially. All right. Well, first, let me go back to what I was saying about the false image. They had one of these actors, dude who played Doctor Strange, and he plays the false image, and he even makes a mockery. They pretty much they addressed the Lord not being looking like that. We know the real image of the Lord is portrayed in the movie. So they address how this came about. All right, and they show the dude, the false Jesus character. He's on the cross. All right, he's on the cross, and basically he starts speaking about, he wants all these people to die or whatever. But basically, you have somebody writing, you have somebody drawing an image of him, and he said, yeah, especially him who's drawing that image of me. I don't remember if he said fake image, but it is a fake image. All right, so they kind of showed you how it went from the true portrayal of the Lord to this false portrayal. Another thing, it's funny because a lot of brothers, and I'm be honest, myself included, kind of scoffed when when we first heard about this movie coming about. I was like, man, here they go with this, are they gonna be bringing it out, and then honestly, I think like the message of the movie was pretty solid overall. There's some obviously questionable things in the movie. Of course, Hollywood got to put their own spin, and they kind of put things in there and made the Lord say things that he really never said in the scriptures. But the overall message and theme was solid. All right. Another thing was yeah, so you had that false portrayal and they kind of poke fun at it and how, this is clearly not the image of the Lord. Another thing was them portraying the Romans as Edomites, all right? And when you think about it, they had like the Roman attire, they had like the red all over them, the centurions and all that, all right, and the captains of the Roman legions, all right, and what they showed was, the portrayal of the Romans, all right, they were Edomites, okay. Now you did have Israelites amongst those armies, but primarily they portrayed them as Esau, and they showed you the same oppression that be happening. Jay, if you are a so-called Black, Latino, or Native American, and you living in America and you deal with the cops, you got that same vibration of the interaction between the Jews in the movie and the Romans. So you see how nothing has really changed. It's just updated technology. The same thing we have now. All right. So these police officers are nothing but modern Roman centurions. When you go back into the history of the police, it started off as runaway slave patrol. And we try to catch runaway slaves. So, you know, that was a heavy part of the movie to me, because it just shows you how nothing is new under the sun, and it shows you the same similarities between what was going on then and what's happening now. All right, and there's one point where one guy in the movie, I think his name is Jedediah, he goes in on this Roman, one of the Roman top officers or whatever. Yeah, you keep beating us down, but we always come back, and that really, was a pretty dope scene to me, because when you compare it to all of the shit we've been through from then till now, you really get an idea of like, wow, like Esau, we already knew this, but sometimes when you have a visual aid, it helps, that, wow, Esau has really been fucking us up for thousands of years. All right. And it's nothing new. It's the same things happening now. And it made me think, because they had the red capes on and the red apparel around their armor. Esau is, the nation of Edom, Adawam means red. So was that something purposely put in the movie to show you that the Romans were Edomites? Potentially, because I could tell that the ones that wrote the movie and the ones that put it together, they definitely watch our videos, man. 100%. And there was a lot of references in some of the doctrine. They put certain aspects of the doctrine that we teach in there. I'm trying to think of where exactly, but I remember hearing some stuff and I'm like, wow. Oh, at one point, Clarence, they ask about the Lord. The Roman, one of the Roman officers is interviewing him because they're trying to get him to sell out the Lord, and he doesn't want to do it. But he gives him a fake name. He's like, well, that's not his name. And then he mentioned something else. He mentioned that it's Judas. But when he said, who's this Jesus? And he said, that's not his name. That to me was a reference to us having the real name, all right, which is Yahweh Shai. And they know, again, these guys, they know. All right. Yeah, they definitely know. Yeah, Jay-Z was pushing that "Do As Thou Will." That's right, bro. That's right. And the Jay-Z, they played some whack ass Jay-Z. I'm not gonna lie, to me the song was trash. The Jay-Z song they played in the movie was straight garbage. And I think he was one of the producers or something like that, executive producer. But yeah, like certain things, they just added a lot of extra stuff that's not in the scriptures in the movie, obviously. But it made me think of how we're gonna get that lick back against Esau, man. All right, and everything he's done to our people. All right, he was, at one point, one of the characters was there with his sister, and the Romans, the guard, threatened to chop her head off in front of everybody. So, and this is like, imagine all the things that wasn't even recorded that happened to our people. We only know, like, the Book of Maccabees the Book of Maccabees does mention that too. That at one point, like how many atrocities was occurring, that the things that's written in the book can't even give you full idea, but it's just to show you the worst examples amongst many other things that was happening, some of the worst examples. And it makes you think like, man, look at all the things we've been going through as a people. We really need deliverance. We really need to get the fuck up out of here, man. All right, but it did show the Lord using spiritual power at certain points, so that was cool. Um, Overall, despite the fact that the movie wasn't completely on point, obviously we know it's Hollywood, so they're not going to have it like, it ain't going to be like they're going to be teaching the right doctrine and everything's going to stick to the scriptures. We knew they were going to throw in some bullshit. But with that being said, it was a beautiful thing to see the Lord and his disciples portrayed in the proper way, the way that they're meant to be portrayed historically. And also all of the Jews, the fact that they portrayed it like that, I kind of was surprised that they even was able to make this movie. But Jay-Z has been mentioning, and he was on Jay Electronica's album mentioning about the Israelites, and that's kind of like the popular thing now to be speaking about. All right, where did that originate? With the apostles, man. Apostles, great millstone, bishops, the elders, the brothers teaching. All right, so I'm trying to think what else. Oh yeah, at the end of the movie, he repents. Even though the whole time he didn't believe. And honestly, that's a lot of us brothers. Like I'll be the first one to say I had a sense of a higher power, but I didn't fully believe in the Most High. Before I came into the truth. So it definitely hit home because I'm like, man, you know, there's a lot of us brothers just didn't believe. Some brothers might have been agnostic, like you have a sense of the Most High, but you don't really know. Like it says in the book of Acts, the unknown God. If you haven't been introduced to him or you haven't been made known of him, how can you believe in him? It was never taught properly to us. In the church doctrine is formulated to turn you away from the Most High. All right. And most importantly, they have a false image to go with it. So, just having that sense of, he was not a believer, but it reminded me of the scripture where it says when the Gentiles do the right thing, even though they don't know, the Lord counts it, the Lord counts it in their favor, roughly paraphrasing. If the brother want to post it. But Clarence in the movie, he didn't believe the whole time. He was like, oh, there's no God. And his brother in the movie, his twin brother is Thomas. All right. So in the whole movie, he's trying to, he's telling him that he ain't shit, that he ain't gonna, his brother, who was the disciple Thomas, is telling him that he ain't shit because he was being wicked. But ultimately, his inward man was doing the things that was pleasing to the Lord. So even in our folly, the Lord, the inward man is still there. He was just in the cage. He wasn't able to break out. Like the movie where, because the Lord pretty much does a miracle with him. All right. And in that miracle, he's like, man, God did that. I can't even deny that. And through the miracles that's about to happen, many who do not believe, they will believe. All right, in these last days, during Jacob's trouble, with all of the hell that's going to be happening, them seeing the deliverances, miracles, it might be a famine and brothers have access to food, brothers are eating well, brothers are delivered from life-threatening situations. A lot of the unbelievers are going to see these, and some people do need miracles. And it was spiritual because, Thomas was known as Doubting Thomas, or is known as Doubting Thomas, right? Because, when the Lord resurrected and came back, he didn't believe at first, and the Lord said basically that, you're blessed because you see, but blessed are those that have not seen and still believe, because, we have never actually in this life, at least, we haven't met the Lord face to face. We haven't seen him, but we've seen his spirit and we felt his spirit, and his spirit is with us. The spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. So, the miracles is going to serve to bring in more believers, And there was a lot of other aspects of the movie. I'm forgetting some right now, but I pretty much hit a lot of the ones I wanted to speak on. And shalom to the brothers try for the masteries. Yeah, it was a dope movie. I suggest brothers check it out. I myself, again, I did scoff at the movie when it first came out because I looked at it as a mockery. But really, it was a correct historical portrayal in the sense of the image of the Lord's people. Aside from all, pick the meat from the bone, so to speak. But yeah, overall, solid movie. And hey, the scripture says nothing that is hid will not be uncovered. So now it's becoming common knowledge. Like regular, everyday so-called Black Americans are coming into the knowledge that they're the Jews. You see, regular, everyday, and this is before this movie came out, but it's a cultural, and that's the Lord doing that. When I was watching the movie, I'm like, okay, this is the Lord really showing mercy because he's giving Jake, because some worldly Jakes, they got to see like it, they got to see it in a movie or they got to see something like that to really believe for or believe that it's possible that we're the Jews, that, we are the Israelites, specifically so-called Black, West Indian, and Haitian being the Jews, all right? Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. So to see that proper portrayal was a beautiful thing, man. And I can see the Lord having mercy. And, a lot of celebrities coming out speaking about who the real Jews are. So that's like the Lord, opening up the door and the light shining through. And then you got to follow the breadcrumbs that's left along the way. And if the Lord is dealing with you, eventually from that journey of finding out that you're an Israelite, you're going to come into the right understanding. You're going to come to the apostles. You're going to come into the understanding of who you are, and also because that's really not enough. That's a good start though. And then from that journey of exploration, and the Lord dealing with you, if you're of the elect, you're going to come to the right understanding, because that's a movie, but now we're in these last days and now it's reality. So I'm thinking about how everything just played off of, it's being like a modern touch, but also an ancient movie, but now applying it to what we're going through now. There's prophecies going on, like we're about to actually, the Lord, the one that's portrayed in the movie, is about to come back. So man, that really it just kind of blew my mind thinking about it, and the fact that we're at the forefront of this whole thing. So yeah, so let me see. The brothers put some good comments preset. Let me see. Yeah, brother Strive for the Masteries put, definitely a beautiful thing seeing the Lord and his disciples depicted correctly. Closest to that was that Color of the Cross movie. Oh yeah, I've never seen that movie, so I got to check that out. Zephaniah 3:19, behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict thee, and I will save her that halteth, and gather her that was driven out, and I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. Right, we've been put to shame, and the Lord's people have been put to shame. So that phase and that fame and that praise is going to come. But yeah, I will save her that halteth. All right, and those, the Lord's undoing all that afflict you. That's why Esau's kingdom is falling apart, to the point where even in his kingdom, you got Jake's coming up in positions where, honestly, if it wasn't Jake behind that movie pushing it, the movie most likely wouldn't have happened, because Esau ain't just going to be going out his way to portray, the true portrayal of it. But the Lord used certain of them celebrity, even though them niggas are evil and wicked, but the Lord used them to bring about that proper depiction, because they know the truth, man. They know who the real Jews are, man. And just having that proper portrayal, because a lot of people know that the Lord is a so-called Black man. People know it, but to see it portrayed, and also people don't really think about what that means sometimes. Like the fact that the Lord is a so-called Black man, that means all of the people of that region, of that time, have that image, all right, are dark with woolly hair. So to actually see it being portrayed, and not just the Lord, but all of the, his disciples, all of the people of the land, the native people, it was heavy. It was definitely heavy. It kind of took me by surprise. I didn't expect the movie to be like that, I expect it to be more of like a mockery. There was certain aspects, but overall it was solid. You know, overall it was solid. It said, "Oh yeah, the brother put a lot of worldly jakes that's unlearned would add a lot. Would yeah add a lot from that movie to their already distorted understanding." Right. Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's the thing though. That's the thing. Yeah, exactly. So ultimately, you know, that movie is it's like one little breadcrumb. And if the Lord is dealing with you, you watch a movie like that and say, well, if we're the Israelites, the next question you should be asking is, where is the prophets? Where do I learn more about this? You know, who has been teaching this? Because the knowledge of the Israelites is out there, man. It's just that people don't want to face reality because we're a harsh dose of reality that people don't really want to deal with. All right. They don't want to swallow that pill. All right. Yeah, and the brother put Daniel 12:4. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Right. So, you know, the knowledge wasn't readily available, and now it's just out there. The floodgates are open. So you to the point where now you got major Hollywood films with the portrayal, true portrayal of the Lord, true portrayal of his disciples. You know, I would like it to be more movies like that. I would love to see a movie about Jehu and you know what he did to those wicked, the king of the northern and the southern king, and then what he did to that whole a couple chapters in the Bible could be a whole movie, or maybe even one chapter could be the basis for a whole movie. But we know they ain't going to do that most likely. But it's just, you know, having that proper portrayal, and that, you know, visualizing is very important, man. But we can visualize through the spirit, you know, but we've been given the gift of faith. Not everybody has been given that same gift. So many of our people, they really need to see things like this. And, you know, it's all the Lord's doing. It's all the Lord's doing. Romans 9:26, and it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living God. That's right. That's right. So it's the same thing happening. That's exactly what's happening now. All right. We have been referred to as all these different bywords, Latino. Mexican is a major derogatory byword, man, especially growing up. I remember I'm not even Mexican, I'm Colombian, so-called. And they would be telling me I'm a Mexican, like, and then they would say it in the word, like, if you're a Mexican, that's the worst slow scum of the earth. A nigga that just you just all you hey, Shalom, brothers. Lord's will, y'all can still hear me. Like I was saying about the derogatory terms they use as like Mexican, for example. You know, I had changed. I used to live in the city, and then I had moved out to the burbs later on. And when I got there, everybody was calling me a Mexican because I was one of the only Latinos in that neighborhood, you know. And it was me and a couple other Jakes. And then Jake began to move. Now that whole neighborhood is all Jake. Um, but yeah, just being referred to as Mexican, you like, damn, I don't want to be a Mexican because motherfuckers will look down on you so much, you know. And every time they want to say a Latino, they want to they want to speak down on you, they'll call you a Mexican, you know. Because Jake, you know, Issachar is looked down upon in the society because being a servant under tribute, you're doing some of the most menial jobs and the lowest jobs that nobody wants to do. And they got a reputation for that. And it's like nobody wants to be that, you know, because that basically means you're a slave. You know, you're just a worker. The funny part about it is, though, a lot of them Issacharites that was coming up doing those low jobs, a lot of them are millionaires now from landscaping, man. You know, simple shit that people look down on, and that shit is a big money maker now. You go into the burbs, yo, these Issacharites be making bank just cutting lawns, man. You know, they got the nicest house in the whole neighborhood from cutting lawns, but you will get shitted on for being so-called Latino, you know, or associated with being a Mexican. And then meanwhile, the name that title Mexican means anointed, Mashiach. You see, so I mean, or Mashika, which goes back to Mashiach. So ultimately, man, even the words that you use to clown us is still a reference to us being special. Okay, like the word, like the, you know, when they call us niggas, man, that goes back to royal titles that was used back when you look at the kings of Scotland, they were called niggas, man. You know, that would be one of their titles, essentially. So they turned the Esau, try to flip it into a mockery, man. Yep. I like to see a movie about the Maccabees and their mother being put to, yeah, man. Imagine that. You know, come on, Jay-Z. Jay-Z need to get his shit together and do some movie like that. But you know, ultimately, the beautiful part about it is that we didn't need a movie for us to believe in it, but it would be nice to see. You know, it would be nice to see. But we didn't need a movie to know and believe that. And that's the beautiful part about it. You know, blessed are those that have not seen but still believe, because the Lord gave us that gift. Brother said, Khan, I grew up in El Paso, Texas, where Issachar frowns upon that term, yet refer to themselves as Spaniards because they want to be Edomites. Yeah, because Mexican is like associated with such a negative thing. Like if you say somebody's a Mexican, that's like it's like almost like an insult. Nowadays it kind of changed because people are embracing their roots, I realize. But yeah, especially back in the 90s, like 2000s, early 2000s, like back then, you know, before the internet and people could look up and see, oh yeah, well, Mexicans actually are beautiful people, and they actually have a beautiful, rich heritage, and they have a beautiful culture. And all these motherfuckers making fun of Mexicans, but your ass eating tacos and quesadillas, right, nigga? So you don't hate Mexicans that much, right? See, they love what Jake brings to the table, but then they want to shit on you. Man, this world would be nothing without us, man. You know, and that's according to the will of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. What would it be without salt, man? You know, there would be no. This world would be lame. You know, unseasoned chicken from Esau. Even though I'm not gonna lie, some Edomites do know how to cook, man. You know, but yeah, they do. A lot of them do. A lot of them do. But there is, especially the younger Jakes, they kind of embracing it and embracing being brown. You know, that they're not Edomites, that they're not. But still, there's a lot of them that do want to be Edomites. You know, I see a lot of Jakes that's like that, man. This is Deuteronomy 28:37, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither Yahweh shall lead thee. Yeah, so an astonishment. You know, you go to Jake neighborhoods, and it is an astonishment. I'm on my way to camp now, and I'm about to pull up, Lord's will, to 125th over there. And well, I gotta roll through 125th to get to where we push camp. And yeah, man, they fucking, man, you go over to 125th, man. That whole street is it should be renamed an Astonishment. That's what it should be renamed, Astonishment Avenue, because that shit is sad, man. Walking through there is like going through the gates of hell, man. Real shit. I guarantee. Like the other day, I mentioned to brothers that I seen a dude. Oh, this dude must have been like 75, 80, man. All that shit. This dude picking up used cigarette butts and smoking it, man. I'm like, how is dude even alive? How is he breathing? You see? But that's us being in astonishment. So when you go to those hoods, you be like, man, what's wrong with these people? Why do they live like this? Because, you know, our people are cursed, man, at the end of the day. Now the remnant, we're coming into those blessings more and more, but Overall, our people are still subject to them curses, man. They will pull up to Home Depot and get a Mexican to do some housework for them too. Yeah. Yep. Yep. They won't mind that. They don't won't mind when you know how to set the concrete up and the pavers real nice in front of the house, or to do that drywall. Those are a lot of jobs that a lot of these so-called Americans don't want to do, and Jake will do them. Yep, they project their insecurities on us. That's right. They hate that they're not us. That's right. And in the movie, the dude told him, he said, Jedediah told the Roman guard, he was like, yo, man, you're just a weak boy. Shitted on him. And you feel like you got to have power over us because they just envy us. Because he said, yeah, he was the Roman guard who was an Edomite. And he was mocking he was saying that, yeah, you people, the sun turned you black. Like, no, the Lord gave us our skin color, which is dark brown to light brown. All right. So that's a blessing, man, to have that skin color. So he despises it because he burns in the sun. Right. It's just another example of that. So then their whole life existence is about coming against us. Edomites, this is what their purpose is. They're created to hate us. Guess what? We hate you too. All right. But the brother put oh yeah, and about Mexicans at Home Depot, yeah, that's another thing. America, Mexicans are building all these communities up. All right, it's a so-called Mexicans, Issachar, and a lot of other tribes too. And then there's even levels to that because a lot of them they don't. Some of them guys they do shoddy work, man. They do work hard, but some of them do shoddy work. You need to get guys that know what they're doing sometimes because them dudes, man, they'll slap it together. Yeah, the brother put, ironic how the vagabond of the entire earth calls the northern kingdom to go back to their country, right? Where's your original home, Esau? And that's his whole, he has an identity crisis. That's the best way to describe Esau's situation, an identity crisis. And the one people that, hey man, we're showing you love by telling you who the fuck you are. I'm being sarcastic, obviously, but we're actually telling you that you are the Edomites. Meanwhile, you want to be this, you want to be that, you want to be the Egyptians, you want to be the last samurai, you want to be everything but who the fuck you are. All right, Edomite from Mount Seir, man. All right, and even Mount Seir, you weren't even the first one to do that. Everything you got is stolen, man. All right, all because Esau sold that birthright. It really goes back to Cain being the first murderer. Ultimately, Romans 9 says what? That it's up to the Lord to give mercy to whom he's going to give mercy, roughly paraphrasing. So this was all predestined and set up. Jacob versus Esau, man. And that movie, Book of Clarence, was all about Jacob versus Esau. That was the main vibe I got from it. I was surprised how, because I'm like, all right, Hollywood be on some diversity shit. So I was like, all right, they might throw some Jakes. It was pretty much, the Romans were all pretty much Edomites, man. Unless I missed somebody, but it looked like they was all pale skin Edomites, man. That's what it looked like. So, and the Jews were all dark, which was a beautiful thing, man, because it's like accurate, Now, even though you did have Jakes in the Roman legions, all right, but overall, the ones in power in Rome were Edomites, right? You did have Jakes eventually slide into power positions. All right. And, Jake has always been around. That's the thing. You can't take Jake is never out of the picture because we're so pivotal to world history. Even I think Hannibal at one point went to go help Antiochus. I don't remember if it was Epiphanes or one of them, but he was helping one of those Greek kings because he was known as a great military mind, and he had dealt with the Romans. So You can go into the history on that too. Lord's will, maybe you could tap in on a lesson on that. But you always had Jake in the midst of these great empires, man. I mean, look at Babylon, all right? Daniel was right there. Look at ancient Egypt. Joseph was right there, up towards the top. All right, so Jake has always been, even here in America, Babylon the Great, Colin Powell. You got Jakes in positions as judges, as congressmen, and so how far is Jake really from the Jake is always in the mix, you know? We're the most numerous people. All right, but yeah, that is ironic that the vagabond is telling us to go back to our country. Here it is. You don't have a home. All right, that's why you had to come here. All right, and this place is slated for destruction, man. All right, where you decided to set up shop is where the Lord is going to bring his wrath, and that shows you how the Most High feels about you. He hates you. Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated. Christians don't want to acknowledge these scriptures, man. The Most High deals with love and hate. Okay, he doesn't even love all of his people right now. He loves. In turn, I'm dealing with the Israelites. He only loves the remnant of the nation of Israel, and that is really his only people right now. All right, the rest of our people are going to receive of that judgment that Esau is going to get. All right, that thermonuclear destruction. But with that, I'm gonna go ahead and close it out. The water for the precepts and skillful adding from the brothers. I'm gonna go ahead and give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Chakadash. Hey, shalom to the next one.